Today, let's dive into a really powerful story from Islamic tradition. It's all about sacrifice, deep piety, and divine mercy. We're talking about the story of Fatima's fast, and it's an incredible test of faith that honestly asks a question that's relevant to every single one of us. Right at the heart of this entire story is this one profound question. It really challenges you to think about your own convictions. I mean, when everything you have is stripped away, what is the actual true limit of your faith? So, our story begins with something called a fast of water, which is a massive test of faith. Picture this. We're in the home of the Prophet Muhammad's daughter Fatima and her husband Ali, and it's the holy month of Ramadan. And while for a lot of people this is a time for community and togetherness, for them, it was a time of just immense hardship. The contrast in the city of Medina at that time was pretty stark. You know, in other homes, you'd have all this activity, this buzzing energy of preparations for suhoor. That's the super important pre-dawn meal that gets you through the day's fast. But in Fatima's house, it was completely silent. There was no smell of food cooking because, well, there was no food to cook. But here's the thing. Despite all that, their faith, it was completely unshaken. They believed so strongly in the spiritual blessing of that pre-dawn meal, no matter how small it was. So they each just drank a little bit of water and began their fast. And their hearts weren't filled with despair. They were full of this deep gratitude and prayer to God. Okay, so as the day wore on, you can imagine the weight on Ali's shoulders, needing to provide for his family. And this brings us to the next chapter of their test, this incredible struggle for even a tiny handful of food. So Ali heads out into that intense midday heat, and he's just desperately searching for any kind of work he can find. The sun is absolutely scorching, but the thought of his hungry family is what kept him going. Finally, he finds a man who needs some help in his date garden. After hours of just grueling, back-breaking labor, what was his payment? Just a small handful of dates. Can you just imagine the relief? Ali gets home right as the sun is setting. The whole family gathers around, so ready to break their long, water-only fast with these precious dates he worked so hard for. But just as they were about to eat, there was a knock at the door. And standing outside was a poor man. You could hear the weakness in his voice from hunger. He pleaded with them, explaining that he hadn't eaten for days and asked for help, for the sake of God. This was it. This was the first real test. And without a single moment of hesitation, Fatima turned to her husband. Her words just cut right to the heart of why they were enduring this. She knew that real charity, especially when you have almost nothing yourself, is a huge cornerstone of faith. So Ali gave every last date to the beggar. And for that first night, the family broke their fast with only water. Now, you might be thinking, okay, surely their test is over now, right? Nope. It was really only the beginning. The second day brought a brand new challenge, a sacrifice of bread that would make their trial even more incredible. So, the very next day, after another long search, Ali manages to get his hands on a small amount of flour. A little bit of hope returns to the house. Fatima takes the flour and she bakes a few small loaves of bread for their iftar. That's the meal that breaks the fast at sunset. And once again, like an echo of the day before, just as the sun was setting and they sat down with that warm bread, finally ready to eat, they heard that same sound, a knock at the door. This time, it was another person in need. Turns out, he'd heard about their generosity and had come to their door hoping for some help, explaining just how hungry he was. And again, Fatima's response was immediate. It was crystal clear. It just goes to show that for them, piety wasn't just some feeling. It was about action. Her focus wasn't on her own gnawing hunger, but on a much higher purpose. So for the second night in a row, they gave away their only food and once again broke their fast with nothing but water. An act of selfless faith that, profound, well, it doesn't go unnoticed. What happens next is really the climax of the whole story, where their incredible sacrifice is met with reward that's just beyond imagination. As they sat there in prayer after breaking their fast, there was a third knock. But this one was different. The voice that called out was gentle and sweet, and when Ali opened the door, he saw this radiant figure holding a tray of food. The visitor was the angel Jibril, or Gabriel, sent by God, and the food he brought, wow, it was not from this world. It was a feast straight from paradise itself, the most fragrant bread, the sweetest dates, and honey.
It was a divine reward for a test they had passed with absolute devotion.
Just completely overcome with emotion, Ali rushed inside with this heavenly meal. You can just hear the sheer awe and gratitude in his voice, realizing that their creator had directly answered their piety with a miraculous gift. Now, of course, a private miracle like this soon became a very public story. It spread all throughout the city of Medina and ended up serving as this incredibly powerful lesson for the entire community.
As news of this heavenly meal got around, it kind of polarized the city. For the believers, it was a source of just complete awe that made their faith even stronger. But for the skeptics, and those who were against the new faith, it was a story to be mocked and dismissed as some kind of lie. So hearing all this growing controversy, the Prophet Muhammad addressed the people. He confirmed the miracle was real, and he silenced all the doubters by reciting this powerful verse from the Quran, reminding everyone that for those with true faith, God's help can come from places you could never, ever expect. And so this incredible event became so much more than just one family story. It was cemented as a timeless lesson, a true testament to the power of selfless charity, unwavering faith, and the absolutely infinite mercy of God. It really leaves us with a final thought to reflect on. You see, the story of Fatima's fast isn't just about hunger and food. It's about the very nature of belief itself. And it asks each of us, when we are truly, truly tested, what is it that endures?